No, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be here today. And yes, I'm here to talk about Matsa, and I guess our focus is on gold. We're a gold-focused company. The usual disclaimers, but I'll skip on from there. Just a corporate snapshot. We have about 360 million shares on offer, ranging over the last 12 months, just under 12, 13 cents down to 7 cents. We closed at 7 cents yesterday, and our market cap is around $24 million, which is pretty cheap. Shareholders, key shareholders, top 20 hold up just over 54% of the company. And for those of you who are familiar with Paul Poley, he's our chairman and managing director. We also have Frank Sybil on the board, who's been around a fair while, and Andrew Chapman, our company secretary. So our key project area is Lake Carey Gold Project in Western Australia, just the northeastern part of the eastern goldfields. We have a mineral resource there of just under 700,000 ounces of gold. I'll take you through that table a little bit in a bit more detail a little bit further on. We've got 500 square kilometres of terrific ground, very fertile. The resource is underpinned by 3 key mines: Fortitude Stage 2, Devon, and the underground operation at Red October. We've just brought on a new resource called Binder. I'll take you through that as well. And I guess our key focus at the moment is to build sufficient resources to support the construction of a standalone mill for Matsa. Brief overview of our tenements. We've sort of summarised them into our resources and mining hubs. And as I mentioned before, with regards to where the resources are situated, our most advanced projects are the Fortitude area in the yellow, Devon in the blue area, and Red October in the red. There's our mineral resource table, gold. And what I want to draw your attention to there is an average grade of 2.5. If you have a look at the early open pit stuff, which is essentially everything outside of Red October, you'll see there that nearly every grade is above 2 grams, and in particular the Devon pit, which is around 4.6. So very, very healthy grade for open pit. At Hill East, that's our lowest grade at the moment, 1.7. Christy mentioned the drilling that we've recently done. We've got some drilling in that area. I expect from the visual look of some of the drilling spoils that we actually might get some nice hits out there, and adding that new drilling into the resource at Hill East, I'm hopeful that, I'm very hopeful and slightly confident that we'll actually be able to raise that grade from 1.7 to above 2 as well, which would mean that for open pit material, 2 grams is a very healthy grade. So how did we get there? We started off in our annual report, for those of you who have read it last year, around about 440,000 ounces. We've had an upgrade of 74,000 ounces at Red October. Earlier this year, we put out a new resource for Devon area, Devon pit and Olympic of 80,000 ounces. In May, we put out a new resource as well for Gallant and Hill East, and that added 58,000 ounces to our tally. Just recently, we added the Binder pit of 40,000 ounces, and that gives us a grand total just shy of 700,000 ounces. So we've added just over 50% of ounces of this resource table since our annual report last year. That is a table of our exploration targets. So last year we put out a snapshot of where we saw the growth coming from for the Lake Carey area. And you can see there in the bottom of the totals that roughly we were looking at somewhere between 600 and 1.3 million ounces to be discovered through exploration. That was on top of, from the starting base was that 440 odd thousand ounces in our annual report last year, and so we've added just a bit over 250,000 ounces in the last 6 to 9 months. So we're not doing too badly at starting to achieve that key target. So as I mentioned before, our focus is to build our own mill. That's where we think we're going to get the best value in terms of value for Matsa and our shareholders. And we can start to sort of see that we can put together a mining plan and a package, a full package that would deliver 5 years of mill feed from these key projects. The high grade at Devon gives us a bit of optionality with regards to treating by a third party. One of the things is that if you have a mill and you have a little bit of excess capacity, you are in a position to charge premium rates to treat other people's ore, and that's one thing that is okay for a small or temporary operation, but in terms of a long-term perspective, it doesn't make a lot of business sense. So earlier this year, we commissioned a study in terms of understanding what that would look like if we built our own mill, what sort of size we'd need to run it at, and what would be the cost effectiveness of actually running our own operation as opposed to the toll treating arrangement that it's an ore purchase arrangement that we currently have with Anglo Gold. And essentially for a $55 million outlay, the Devon pit and Fortitude Stage 2 looked like they would return around about $95 to $96 million of free cash flow. So that's starting to look quite attractive. The key features, I suppose, in respect of the overall Lake Carey package, though, is that most of these key projects are actually on granted mining leases. So Fortitude Stage 2 is ready to go. We can start mining tomorrow if that's what we chose to do. At Devon, it's a granted mining lease. We just need to formalise the feasibility type studies and get the appropriate approvals in place. And of course, Red October is also on a mining lease. It's an operating mine at this stage. 70, we've got our own camp. It's fairly modern, nice and clean, 72 person. That's a decent sort of size. All the haul roads are in place, everywhere from our eastern areas to our northern areas and our western areas. So to put in a centralised mill, we've already got all the haul roads there, which is very efficient for us. Great exploration team, and really we've got terrific exploration upside in this very fertile ground. As I mentioned before, Fortitude Stage 2, there's a graph there of a month by month sort of cash flow with a cumulative surplus of around about $55 million over just under 2-year operation. Now we're in the process of upgrading that resource at the moment, and I expect this will change in a positive way over the course of the next 6 months. At Devon open pit, that grade there, 4.6 gram, is a terrific head grade for an open pit operation. It's a slightly lower mine life. It's just over 12 months, but it generates $40 million. That's very healthy as well. Binder is, as I mentioned before, that's one of our newest resources. It is an existing open pit. It last mined by WMC. They mined the gold, but they were really a nickel focus at the time, in around about 1986 or so. And basically all they did was take out the oxide stuff, and as soon as they got to the fresh, they walked away. And that's quite common for a lot of pits in the Western Australian gold region, that the easy pickings are all the oxide. As soon as you get down to the hard stuff and you have to drill and blast, you walk away, particularly back in the 1980s. So at the moment, we've got 40,000 ounces there at 2.4. We're confident that a bit of additional drilling will be able to increase that. And that's one of our key, I guess, one of the early priorities in next round of drilling that we would be looking at doing this year. At Red October, it's a busy slide there. In the blue is all the existing workings and development. So it's a long section, as they call it, so it's a side view of the whole thing. In the yellow there at the top is the open pit development. So we've got 173,000 ounces, a very good grade of 5.8, and that's essentially all in the red material there. So that's measured, indicated, inferred. Our green there is material where we've put some shapes around existing drilling, insufficient drilling to actually generate what they would class as a JORC compliant resource, but certainly a very good indication that with a bit of extra drilling, we might well be fortunate enough to convert that sort of material over to a resource, and that's fairly high priority for us as well. Key targets, I guess you'd say. There's been a fair bit of drilling over the course of the last probably 10, 15 years or so. We've done some recently, and last year we released 2 rounds of exploration results with some fantastic grades. But even as you step back further in time a little bit, there's some very, very good grades there as well. And you can see those grades there on that screen in the Nemo, which is out to the long strike to the south. Basically lionfish, which is a parallel ore system to the existing mining at Red October. As you head north into the Bruce area there, you get some very good grades once again, 26 grams and 8.3 grams. Coming down to the bottom part of the mine there, in the splay and the anchors, very high grades, short-lived sort of geological structures there though. But I guess the key to the main part of the Red October is the marlin, which is what's been mined over the course of the last 12, 13 months. And you can see some very attractive grades down there at depth. Very thin, but very, very good grades there. So the upcoming news flow for Matsa, as Christy said, we completed some drilling around about 4,000 metres over at the Devon area in very late May. We're still awaiting the results from the assay laboratories. 6 weeks if you're lucky, 3 months if you're unlucky in terms of turnaround time. The Binder resource, we're doing a mining study at the moment, so we'll do the optimisation, some preliminary mining and feasibility work on that, and sort of see what that gives us. Red October, with last year's drilling, we're going to be modelling and upgrading the marlin, the lionfish area, and the Nautilus, which is a parallel ore system to Red October. As I mentioned before, Fortitude Stage 2 is getting an upgrade. Devon and Hill East with this recent drilling as well. We will be looking at a progress update with regards to our mill, and ultimately what we want to do as well is move on to one of our greenfields projects and at least start that in terms of developing a model. So Lake Carey, the regional potential, you can see here we're surrounded by some very good mines. We've got Anglo Gold Ashanti, and I'll point that out, which is just in there, Sunrise Dam. Up to the north, we've got Goldfields, Wallaby and Granny Smith mines. To the east, west of us, sorry, we've got Butch as well, which Anglo Gold are currently drilling out as we speak. And then as we go further south, we get to the second Fortune. So 500 square kilometres of very prospective ground. We've got multiple corridors of gold anomalism along some key structural trends. And I guess really we're looking at 69 kilometres of structural trend all the way from the south here up to the north. Then we've got another 20 odd kilometre trend through the central part, and again from Devon through to Red October there on that western area. So we've got quite a number of early stage projects that we do need to follow up at some stage. The colour code system to the prospects that are outlined on that picture are related to the stages of exploration, whether it's early stage or sort of advanced stage, or whether they're in mining study stage. Just a reminder of our exploration targets, how we intend to achieve the sufficient resources there to support a standalone mill. Just a top up on our prospectivity. Again, Devon Hub at the moment is one of our key focus areas, the Fortitude Hub, the Red October Hub, and then in terms of the longer time frames, the Lake Carey regional area. So we've got well over 30 prospects. We've got 30 prospects that we can actually walk up and start drilling now. There are quite a number of other prospects that we are working up in terms of defining on where you'd actually sort of start any drilling. Fortitude North is a greenfields project. It's only 7 kilometres or so north of Fortitude. You can see here there's some very, very healthy grades, 47 metres at 2.5, including a nice core of 5 metres at 17. So this prospect is around about 1.5 kilometres long. It's probably only got 2 dozen holes in it. So it's very early stages, but very, very encouraging numbers there. And yeah, that's got the potential to be substantially better than what we've got so far in our pipeline. Just a little bit of a snapshot of what that early interpretation in terms of geology. Nice typical supergene, broad thick blanket of lower grade material with some high grade structures running to depth. And as I mentioned, we've got very limited drilling through there, and well and truly less than 50% of all the drilling is actually drill tested below blade refusal. And what that actually means that well, as soon as you hit a really hard rock, depending on the type of drilling that you use, the drill rig can't penetrate any further. So all the upside is at depth there in terms of the fresh rock and the hard rock, and that's really very, the drill testing there is very limited. The Devon drilling that we completed in May, so there was a number of reasons why we did that. We did a little bit of drilling to test for hanging wall extensions to the Devon pit, which, as you know from what I've mentioned before, is a 4.6 gram ore feed. We did some drilling around the Hill East and 1, 2 and 5 in terms of the resource potential there, but we also did some drilling to test some geophysical anomalies and some geochem anomalies. And in particular with regards to the geophysical anomalies, if we could prove up that the structures are there, and then that would indicate to us that using sub-audio magnetics, geophysical techniques, can be used elsewhere to help refine our drill targeting. And in particular, I'd be taking that to that Fortitude North prospect that I just showed you before, where I think that there's going to be some structural detail that we need to understand there to maximise the effectiveness of future drilling. At Red October, one of the key target areas are a couple of brand new targets to the east and the west. And these were generated from seismic and, again, SAM data. I looked at the historical database as well, and there are only essentially 5 pierce points. Now, the best one was probably only around about 2.5 grams at 2.29, which is it's not striking in economic grades, but in terms of exploration, that's certainly something you can't ignore. So there's those shapes there in the pink are our targets, and you can see they're quite significant in terms of the size. So the white traces are our proposed drilling. Bit of a work snapshot summary. We're well and truly in a good position at the moment. We can see where the 5 years worth of mining to feed a plant would come from. We just need to shore it up with some additional drilling, upgrade the resources to indicated, inferred, get them into a reserve status, build our financials on that, and build the business case to support building and constructing a standalone mill, where we can see this, we can see it, and we're going to achieve it. Thank you.
Pascal, thank you very much. Would you put your hands together, please, for Pascal Blampain?